What's up, YouTube and Facebook, and welcome back to Not Quite Mint. I'm Tom, but firstly, I must apologise for being late. I've not had the bestest of days of work, so it's all gone a bit haywire. Over to Rich.
No worries. As I say, and Tom's going on holiday as well, so next week he's handing over the reins to me, and we have got a special guest next week for the review show. But we'll see if I'll probably end up having a terrible day or something next week. You can guarantee it. But
it happens to us all, doesn't it?
It's just one of those things. It happens from time to time. But yeah, if you are new, obviously, guys, do make sure that you hit obviously the subscribe. Give us the thumbs up. Let's see how many thumbs up we can get. We've been sort of just almost like around like the region of 20 likes. So if we could get that consistently every time we do one of these videos, that would be absolutely fantastic. And yeah, we're here to review stuff. Do make sure you hit the little notification bell as well, because I've got my bell there. So
he's run away. He's done all my bit. He's all practiced for next week.
Yeah. Well, have you got a bell? Have you got your bell with you today?
I actually don't, mate. I don't even know where it is.
Shut up, then. All right, then, dude. So over to you, Tom.
Yeah, so today is our Thursday show, so it is our review show. We have got a special guest today. We have Hydra Collectables joining us towards the end of this stream to talk our top pick with us. So yeah, stick around to the end so you can hear what our top pick and what he thought about our top pick. And he's also going to be discussing a couple of other books with us as well. So yeah, shall we get into this nitty gritty then, Rich?
The nitty gritty. You're loving the nitty gritty this week, I think, aren't you?
Mate, I love the nitty gritty. It's my favourite word right now. That and happy days.
Yeah, let's do that. I suppose. Did you end up reading Detective Comics 1027?
I did. I did manage to read it, but I'll be perfectly honest. Once I realised it was more than one story, I skipped just to the Dan Mora one.
Yeah, I was going to say I wasn't so sure if you managed to read it, because it took me at least three or four times longer than a normal comic book to read. So it was one of those ones. But we're not gonna put it in our actual top 5, are we? So with the detective book, just because it only had the one short story that referenced the Joker War. So in terms of general continuity, it's all right in its own right, but it's quite an expensive book. I got the Mayhew cover and the Adam Hughes one, but. I thought the stories were good in their own right, but it didn't add anything to everything else that's going on. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if you felt the same.
I felt exactly the same. I read the first one, and then I realised it was more than one, and then I read the last one because I knew it was the Joker Wars tie-in. But I completely agree. I thought it was really nice. Like it's nice having all those stories, but I wanted to get a bit more out of it. Do you know what I mean? I wanted to read more of like a detective comic. Not detective comics. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But it was all right.
Yeah, it was one of those where, like you say, I think I was expecting there to be more tie-ins, really, especially with like the story that was wrote by Tinian. And then there was the Tom Taylor one. I quite liked that one. It was a Tom Taylor and Walt with art by Walt Simonson, and that was really, really. I really liked that one, the artwork and everything. It was quite a thoughtful one, because it touched on the outskirts of dealing with cancer and things like that as well. So it's quite a heartfelt, touching story. As I say, I think that was probably one of my favourite ones out of there. But yeah, well worth for Bat fans, well worth picking up. But yeah, it was a bit of a. It was a bit of a letdown. We'll give Dino a go next week, won't we?
Yeah. Well, Dino's taking my spot next week, isn't he? I'm getting replaced.
That's it. So yeah, he can get his own back then anyway.
Yeah, definitely. I will continue to read Detective Comics.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because I do want to read the other stories. Like you said, there's a few in there that are heartfelt, and there's a couple that are comedy based. So I definitely think I'll read in it. So that's a pretty good notable, to be fair. Rich, did you read X-Men 12?
Yes. Yeah, again, we've got a couple of things in the works, haven't we, with some of the events that are coming up, which is going to be really cool.
I don't know whether to leave that there and just say it's a notable, it's worth picking up to read if you're reading the X-Men stories, and then we'll leave that one for what we've got coming up.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's one of those where I think if we start talking about that, it's it's such a big storyline that's certainly been building over the last two issues, and this issue 100%. I feel like, yeah, we need to do justice when we start doing what we're doing next week. I kind of feel if that, I think that's fair, isn't it?
Yeah, I would totally agree with you, mate.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely worthwhile picking up. And X of Swords obviously starts next week, so do not miss out on that at all. So,
right, shall we get into our top 5? But firstly, I have to admit, I have only managed to create 4 overlays. So when we get to the 1, I apologise that there'll be no nice picture to look at. Sort of just shoddy day. That's it.
oh my word!
This is why Dino's replacing me next week.
Sacked.
Completely sacked. That's it. See ya.
Oh dear. Anyway, these things happen. You know, life gets in the way occasionally. Oh well. Anyway, so first up, mate, I have got it just here.
Are we going for the Chip Zdarsky?
Yeah,
Zdarsky. Stillwater.
Yeah, definitely.
Artist Ramon Perez, is that right? Have I said that right?
Yeah, Raymond K. Perez. But,
Raymond K. Perez. I missed the K, so I do apologise, Mr. Perez.
Yeah, but
you picked this one.
I was really pleasantly surprised by this one. I did read Heavy as well, which I also liked, but I think Stillwater just pipped it for me to get it. I think I possibly would have had both of them in my top 5 on balance, but I think, yeah, cumulatively I needed to. I think it's worthwhile talking a little bit about Stillwater. I thought it was so gritty towards the end after starting off quite mellow and cool. I really liked the way that it built the story, introduced the story, introduced the characters. The artwork took me a while to get used to because it was a bit rough around the edges, I would say. It remind me, actually, you remember when we reviewed King of Nowhere?
Yes.
First issue of that, and that was a little bit abstract in parts and all the rest of it. It did feel a little bit like that to me when I first started reading it, but then I actually really started getting into like the character development and like the general sort of storyline. But yeah, it's quite. I mean, that's what the artwork looks like. But yeah, I was quite good. I was really happy, and like the hook at the end was.
High 5.
Was really good. So what did you think?
I really liked it, and I'll tell you what, the start of it was a little bit uncomfortable for me because it literally is my job.
Oh, no, I was going to say, did you feel that?
And the whole like start of this comic literally felt like my life. So I was a little bit uncomfortable, but it made me interested to read what was going to happen with this character. And as it developed, I thought it was very good. It felt very Walking Dead-esque as we got into it. And it had that kind of gritty, you don't really know what's going to happen. Everything was a bit of surprise. I don't think you could have called anything in this first issue. No, and the way it ended, I was like, I didn't see it coming. And also I was a little bit like, oh, wow. Like normally with these independents, if I read the first issue, I'm either hooked or I'm not. And this one definitely hooked me in, and I was like, yeah, okay, I need to read issue 2 to see what happens, because that definitely what made me wanting more. And I feel like it's going to be one of your style books, Rich. I feel like it's going to be a little bit of a dark goer.
Yeah, that was what it was. Like I think I started off and it was like, where's this going? But then it's like obviously a very mature theme. And it's one of those ones where I've heard a lot of like people talk about this, and it's that whole concept that it was that there's this town where nobody dies, and it's just like I was intrigued by that, but the way that it's obviously sort of came across, is that it's almost like there's an element of like protecting the town, but also almost like once you're there, I almost feel that you're kind of a little bit trapped as well.
I think so, mate. I think what's going to come out of this book is possibly that they're all hundreds of years old. And that's why they're like, no one knows who they are, and they're not, and that they're even there. That would be my premise on it. But yeah, what would you score it out of 10? Do you think, like as an like an independent?
Yeah, I mean, I really liked it. As I say, I mean, I'm liking quite a lot of the independents at the moment. As I say, I'd probably be giving this like sort of like the 7.5, 8 out of 10 kind of thing for me, because it wasn't like, I think when again, it's one of those ones where the last 3 pages, it probably was around about a 6 or a 7, but then the last 3 pages really like ramped it up, and I was like, oh, I mean, I need to read the next issue. Do you know what I mean? To say, it really hooked me in on that last bit. So I was chuffed. I enjoyed it. As I say, I'd probably, as I say, in that sort of 7.5, 8 out of 10 mark.
Yeah, I would totally agree. I would 100% agree with what you said about the whole, like, as it built in, I didn't feel like it was essentially going anywhere. I did feel it was mystery, but I felt that Walking Dead-esque sort of thing, and then they just punch you in your face, and you're like, oh god, actually, this is really good.
Yeah.
I thought it was great.
And I agree. It had that like kind of uncomfortable, unsettling, where's this going kind of feeling that like you get with The Walking Dead. So, yeah, cool. Really happy with that.
So at number 4, I've got Amazing Spider-Man. Yeah. So this is Amazing Spider-Man: The Sins of Norman Osborn. It's written by Nick Spencer, who's been doing the Amazing Spider-Man run normally, and the actual Amazing Spider-Man run at the moment, I think, is really good. It's been building this whole thing of Sin Eater. He's come back from the dead, and he's essentially taken away the sins of the villains, Spider-Man's villains, but he's not just taking their sins away, he's killing them essentially, and then he's taking their abilities, but then they're resurrecting straight afterwards completely reformed characters. And this is all to do with Kindred, who's a character we've come across a couple of times in the books, who we don't know who he is or what he is yet. So I'm assuming that's all going to come out. But in this book, it's all about the fact that Spider-Man is having to struggle with himself and the other spider people, that Sin Eater basically wants to shoot Norman Osborn in the face to take his sins away, but he's not going to die. But Spider-Man doesn't want him to get shot in the face because he thinks there's obviously something else going on. Now, there's a line in this particular book that I thought was a really good throwback and really does, to me, represent why Spider-Man doesn't want Norman Osborn to get shot in the face. And it's because Spider-Gwen literally says, if you make a deal with the devil, you don't know what's going to come out of it. And there is reference, I think, that is reference to when Spider-Man made a deal with the devil to take back the fact that he took back his secret identity, and it completely flipped his world on its head. So that's my opinion. I think it's a really good book, though. I like the whole Spider-Man Goblin team up. I liked the team up of all these characters, all these spider people, and they're all like, yeah, we need to stop Spider-Man from saving Norman Osborn. He needs to get shot. But
they don't quite have that full disclosure, do they, of obviously what that would mean and what it would mean if the Sin Eater actually absorbed those powers, had that, obviously knowledge almost. And I was like that. I think, like, as I say, I've only read the last couple of issues of Amazing Spider-Man, having not been following obviously an expensive run at all, and then I'm using this as my jumping in point effectively, these last couple of issues, certainly ahead of like the next issue. And I felt this was such a good setup because it followed on immediately at the end of issue 48, and we're obviously we're ready now for issue 49, and we can see that there's obviously the whole Green Goblin angle, Norman Osborn angle, Kindred, Sin Eater. It just is quite epic, really, isn't it, when you think about it that way. And
there's a character reveal in this that's awesome. In the middle, I was like, yes, because he's one of my favorite characters of all time. So when he makes his appearance, I was really chuffed. I don't know what they're going to do with it.
Was that the guy who was cleansed?
Yes. Well, he gets shot. You don't know what's happened to him. But the Norman Osborn's on about, they've got one particular Ravencroft inmate who they can't do anything with. They can't even reform him. They can't do anything for him. And he's kept under lock and key, and he gets released, essentially. So it's interesting to find out who that is. So I would personally say, go and read it.
Oh yeah, sorry, and it makes very much sense in terms of the mini series that's coming out as well. It does make sense, doesn't it? Yeah, I've got you now.
Yeah.
I've got you. Sorry, there was another character.
I know which one you thought I meant.
Yeah,
The other bad guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know what you mean. But yeah, really good issue, really good, and I'm excited.
There's so much in it. There's so much in it. It's well paced. It's really well drawn. It's got some good bits in it, but the main part of it that got me was the fact that the other Spider people are 100% want Sin Eater to take Norman Osborn's sins, but Spider-Man's like, no, because if we do that, we're just as bad as he is, which I think is great. I like that Spider-Man's having a conflict with his own kind of spider family.
Yeah, and with the morality aspect of it as well. What's it's almost like the lesser of two evils, isn't it? But not everybody knows quite the full amount of disclosure, do they? So, yes. Cool. Number 3 then, mate.
Number 3. Now, I don't have an overlay for this one. Do you actually have the book?
Yeah.
So we're talking.
So do one of those like scrolling things.
Yeah, do it like a.
And then like just sit it. Where shall I sit it there?
That's it. Your arm will ache.
There you go. So yeah, so it is 7 Secrets issue 2.
7 Secrets, not Secret 7.
Yeah, I mean, it took me a couple of readings of issue 1 to sort of get my head around it and decide whether or not I actually really liked it or not. And then after I'd read it the second time, it made a lot more sense to me, and I was like, actually, you know what, this has got some really good potential. And this one again, it really builds up. We don't know yet what the threat is in this story or this universe, but it did more of the kind of like the world building and introduced obviously like the sort of obviously like the training of our main character and everything like that. And yeah, it does it in a really efficient way, I think. Do you know what I mean? It's an easy read. It's not difficult. It's not, you know, like it's not a mature title. But it's got enough action and interest in there, I think, that'll keep me interested, because it's an interesting world and there's lots of mysteries and lots of questions, and it's not very predictable. So yeah, that's why I enjoyed this. I think it's a good continuation, and looking forward to reading the next one, really.
Yeah, I agree. I think the character build up in this issue, from the last issue, you get introduced to a hell of a lot more characters from lots of other different backgrounds that are all training this one particular person up. And you get a bit more of a liking for that particular person. You get his kind of background, and then you find out a little bit more about his parents, which we found out about in the first issue. So that's really cool. It's all this amazing character building and this world building, but you also have this sense that there is a real threat going to be going on because of the way that he's talking in the dialogue boxes. Now, I really felt like this was very like kind of almost like a training school style. Well, it is a training school, but like, it felt like a very old school X-Men or some, like, you know, a bit like the Strange Academy comics.
Yeah, it's
going on at the moment.
That same feel to it. Yeah.
Yeah, which I thought was really quite nice, and it just seems like it's a really fun book to read. And you've got all these new characters being introduced. They're all really kind of cool character designs. So yeah, I think it's going to have some legs. This one, I personally really liked it, and I liked for issue 1. And I didn't have to read it twice to like it.
Yeah, I think it's positioned really well to do well. Do you know, if that makes sense? So yeah. I'm enjoying that.
But yeah, I mean, I thought it was excellent, and I would recommend this one 100%. Old 7 Secrets, but I keep calling it the Secret 7,
which is Enid Blyton, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a completely different thing.
Famous 5 and the Secret 7.
Yeah. I'll be calling it the Magnificent 7 next week.
Awesome. Right, then you've got an overlay for this next one, haven't you? So
I do. So what's we on? This is 2. So our number 2 in our list is Batman 99, the penultimate issue, and it didn't disappoint, in my opinion. What did you think, Rich?
Yeah, definitely. Got the Derek Chow on there of Clown Hunter, and then obviously the standard cover. Yeah, I think. Obviously, I've been really hyped with the whole Joker War thing, and I think the build-up has been really, really good. And I enjoyed, I think, like probably the first 2 episodes, 2 issues. The previous issue I felt was a bit like flogging a dead dog type of thing, and I was a bit a bit like, come on, let's move on from this. But again, on a second read of that issue, it was kind of like, it's actually just, Bruce, Batman, dealing with the baggage that obviously he's been carrying all the way through, and sort of, or probably with him taking his eye off the ball a little bit and ending up where he is in the situation he is. Whereas this one, I really liked it because obviously I've read some of the tie-ins with like the Nightwing book and stuff. Obviously we had Dick Grayson returning to the fore, and being given his Nightwing costume by Batman and things like that. It was really, really cool. So it's the series is ending. It definitely isn't ending, but no, it's just the penultimate Joker War.
Probably what I should have said.
So this is. But yeah, I was really happy, and finally I felt that everything's got together. The Bat family's back together, as we saw in, was that Detective? No, it was the end of Nightwing, wasn't it? All the Bat family.
End of Nightwing. Yeah, I actually
and
finally
that
read
kind of plays into this one. This one again, there's a lot of the Joker in it. We get a feel for exactly what he's planning, what he wants to do with all of these resources, and then I mean, like the last page is just so sick and twisted.
Yeah. I mean, the ending.
Yeah, I think you must have been a bit upset about that, to be fair, but with everything,
it was rough.
It was like, even I was a bit shocked, but yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great, and I can't wait to read the part 6 of Joker War and see how it all gets tied up now.
Yeah, definitely. I'd agree with you, mate. I think this one had such good pace, and it was almost like 100 miles per hour. You got the Joker, you got the Clown Hunter, you got Punchline, you got all the Bat family, you even got Harley Quinn in there, and then the ending was just like a huge punch in the face. It was like an adrenaline rush reading this comic, in all fairness.
Yeah, the artwork. I mean, it's like
Jimenez.
Yeah, Jorge Jimenez. I believe.
That's it. Jorge Jimenez is doing incredible. He's incredible, mate. My favorite part of this book, though, has got to be the conversation between Harley and Batman.
Yeah.
There's a bit where they have this whole conversation about what to do with the Joker, and it's a really interesting take on it. And there's a bit where she gives him an ultimatum, and you kind of think, well, what's he going to do here? And he doesn't do what I expected him to do, in all fairness.
It's almost like an agree to disagree kind of situation, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
But yeah, and I hate the agreed. I hate that phrase.
I agree to disagree with you on that phrase.
It really grips my shit. It really does. I hate it. But I'm against that. I think it's one of those things that you have to both agree to compromise or whatever. But yeah, they're very much like, it is an interesting conversation. I agree with you. It's very clever. I like it.
Yeah, it was good. It was very good. So yeah, I mean, that was I love that one, to be fair. And I managed to get my hands on the 1 in 25, but it's not arrived yet. Otherwise, I'll be showing it off.
Good. So, shall we introduce our special guest?
Yes, drum roll. Yeah, so it's about time to get our special guest in. We have got Hydra Collectables in. What's up, Luke?
Hey, how's it going?
Welcome to the channel. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Not too bad. Busy day, but that's the life we lead.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, to be fair, I was still reading bits and bobs when I got home from work. I've done some on lunch, and normally I've read a lot on Wednesday, but yesterday Tom said to me, "What have you read?" And I said, "I haven't read nothing." Like, really, I felt really bad.
It's such a short amount of time to be able to read stuff by the Thursday when it only comes out on the Wednesday. So kudos to you guys for doing a show straight away, because I wouldn't be able to do it on a weekly basis.
It's one of those things where I used to go to the gym in my lunch hour at work, whereas I don't now. I read comics for an hour.
Yeah, that's gonna start having an effect on your physical form, I think.
Yeah, I might have to stop reading comics.
Yeah, I was the same, but there was so much good stuff as well, and obviously, I'll tell you what though, it's almost like, I think if the full complement of Marvel would have been in the shops, I think this week, I don't know what the hell I would have done. I think my brain would have imploded with because there's there's the Star Wars books, which I haven't read yet. There's well, what was the other one? The new Iron Man came out as well, so it was like I wanted to read that, and yeah, it's just a bit of a mad week. But of all of that, I think we've got a good pick of the week, really, and
we do indeed have a good pick of the week. So our pick of the week, our top pick that you should go out and pick up, is the issue 7 of Thor. So we're going to let Luke take this one to start with. So what did you think, Luke?
Yeah, so I have a love-hate relationship with this issue. Right?
Okay.
And when I first read it, I was like, wow, that was amazing. It blew my mind. You know, it was all really cool. And then I started looking back on it, and I was like, the reason why this is cool, the reason why I like this is because this is a tried and tested formula. We've seen all of this before. Yeah. Everything that happened in this book, somewhere in the story arc of Thor, we have seen it happen before. Now, that doesn't mean that it's bad, because it was very entertaining and I really enjoyed it. But like I say, that is the reason, you know, it's because these are tried and tested methods, and, you know, Donny Cates knows what works, and he's made a book combining all these different things together to give us that experience. So yes, I really enjoyed the book, but I'm not prepared to be fooled into not realizing why I like it.
Yeah, I get that.
But yeah, really cool. The one thing that I do want to throw out there, because I don't know how many people actually know this, because Marvel isn't really in the shops, I don't even know how many people have read the book. But there is a phone number in this book, and if you phone it, it connects.
Okay.
And so basically, it's an American number, and I wrote down the gist of what you get from it. So basically, you phone this number because it says call Tony Stark. So it rings through, and it says, "Hi, yes, this is Iron Man. However, due to some big blonde jerk, I don't ever use this number. Nice try anyway." The message then goes on to basically direct you to Tony's website, which in turn takes you to Marvel's website. And the message pretty much ends with Tony Stark basically saying, "Stay safe, everyone, because I've got more important things to do."
That's really cool.
So it's a nice little Easter egg that they kind of thrown in there. And this isn't the first time that we've had something like this. And I know a lot of people, when they see a number or if they see a website or something like that, they do check it out. So yeah, as soon as I saw that, I was like, right, let me look into this and see if someone has already done it. And that's the information that I got.
That's amazing. I had no idea well, I didn't. Obviously, it's a phone number, you can ring it, but I had no idea that they were going to do something like that with it. That's incredible. What a cool idea.
Obviously they've taken the time to pay an actor or get someone to do it, and, you know, basically leave a voice recording. So it's a nice added touch, you know. Yeah. I think maybe I would have liked a bit more. Like, maybe send us down a rabbit hole, like send us to the website, then send us somewhere else, and make it a bit more like the Lost experience, which I took part in back when Lost was on TV. Give us something like that. That might have been more entertaining. This is literally just taking you to the Marvel website. It would have been cool to be at Tony Stark's, you know, Stark Industries main website, and then from there maybe find like a Twitter account or an Instagram, and then from there, do you know what I mean? They could have guided us around. Maybe that's something they'll do in the future. Maybe this is just like a little test run. Who knows?
Maybe was like a little toe in the water.
One of the most interesting points to this comic, in my opinion, and that's why I ranked it at the top.
Yeah, nice.
Breaking the third wall and all that. It's quite. It's that thing that doesn't probably happen enough. And I remember very vaguely doing all like the like Oceanic Airlines and stuff on the Lost, and you did have that really like immersive feel, didn't you? Like, is this actually really happening and stuff? So it would be kind of cool that, yeah, if they had that kind of thing come out of the comics, especially like you say, in the world that we've got now, you know, where we're so connected, and
Disney owns so much that, like, literally they can put something in a comic book, which leads you to a website, which in turn leads you to Disney Plus, which in turn leads you to like a trip to Disneyland. Like, this could be a real marketing tool, and they're just not utilizing it. There's a huge opportunity here for people.
100%. I think so. I mean, it's one of those where I said to Tom, I was a bit like, I'm really enjoying this run, and I feel like it's probably what you're kind of saying there, Luke, is that he's kind of it's almost like we're like getting these little, it's breadcrumbs, isn't it? You know, like there's all these little breadcrumbs coming from all over the place, and it's very hard to know which, especially in Thor. It's slightly different with Venom, but like it's hard to know what's around the next corner, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? But there's enough that you're being given to sort of like, you know, like I don't, like you say, keep that interest. But I don't know with the Thor book whether he's not quite giving enough. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So this is the thing. So this could take us down an entire rabbit hole. I think the Thor book is giving us enough, and I mean that because I think he is intentionally misleading us. Right. One of his earliest pieces was Thanos wins. Right, and that is set in a future where Thanos has won and everything else. We then obviously have other stories like he wrote for Guardians of the Galaxy, in which case, you know, Thanos had been defeated when all of a sudden the Black Order came in order to retrieve the body, and they opened up this black hole, and the Silver Surfer and a bunch of other people got sucked into that. In turn, that then led to Silver Surfer Black. Then in turn, you know, that led to Null and everything else that we're seeing. Then we've had the whole Black Winter thing and everything else. Now we've seen Thor get a glimpse of his future, where we have seen Thanos. So that ties immediately back to they have his body. They are going to resurrect him. They are going to bring him back. And while everyone is looking over at Null and concerned about that, you're going to have Thanos coming back with the Infinity Stones in a hammer and a Dark Gauntlet. Yeah, I think Null's got a run for his money, especially because the title is called Thanos Wins.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing a showdown.
I have a feeling that gauntlet he's got, that black gauntlet, is Null, or is a symbiote that he's got complete and utter control over. I kind of have that thing. But that glimpse we keep seeing of Thanos, he's got zombies behind him, like Marvel zombies behind him. I think there's going to be a tie-in with Marvel zombies at some point where they come into our universe.
I think absolutely. Like they're already like that when they first released that one shot, people were so hungry for it, pardon the pun, but you know, people loved it, and so that's why I think they held on to it for a bit and they pushed it back, and then they wanted to do something really decent with it, and now they've started releasing those issues and those stories. I think you know, they're gonna bring that in, because at the end of the day you need an army to take on, you know, this. Here's a nice idea, right? We know from the original Marvel Zombies that, you know, Eddie Brock got bitten, and basically Spider-Man looks at him and he's like, I can't survive any longer. I've used Eddie up. He's done. All right. And the symbiote basically dies and falls off of him. All right. So if you're fighting Null, who has an army of symbiotes, he is not going to be able to attach those symbiotes to any other living organism if your army is undead.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah, this Comic Dino has just raised a point that one of the things that I was going to say is that it's this whole, like, because we've got, I think in November we've got Donny Cates' crossover title coming, and on the wall at the certain time where Thor and Beta Ray Bill are obviously having a chat. I think is it from God's Country? Dino probably know.
The sword.
The sword was from God's Country or something, and there was an axe as well that was from another.
So that very scene that you're talking about, there was something off about that scene to me, because like we have to remember the last time these two saw each other, you know, they were like at war, and you know, Beta Ray Bill had his hammer completely destroyed, like, and there he is, and he didn't seem angry enough, he didn't seem upset enough. Like I feel like he was just there, kind of just being all chummy and cracking jokes. Like I would expect him to be a little bit more peeved off by this. There was just a little bit where he was a bit grumpy, where he was like, "You're not my king, you're not my friend, and what am I doing here? You can drink wine on your own." But that was really a small glimpse, and then the next thing you see is like, "Will you be my chief of war or whatever?" And he's like, "Yeah, okay, yeah, no problem. As long as I can have a hammer." To me, that feels like it's lacking in something. Like there should have been more there. You know, I mean, that's an awesome panel when you see them coming cracking down with the hammers. You see the explosion. Like, I know if I was Beta Ray Bill, I'd be pretty upset.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Going back to that DC thing, Donny Cates actually did hint at the Justice League at the start of Thor in issue 2, where he spoke about the Black Winter, and he basically lists all of the Justice League, but in obviously different ways.
Yeah.
So I mean, there could be, or it just could be Donny Cates is just really cleverly writing.
I think it's just a fun Easter egg. I wouldn't be surprised if they did do a crossover. I just don't think it's going to be for this story. You know, this story is its own thing, its own entity. And like I say, you take all these little bits and pieces. Donny Cates has been amazing with tying all this stuff together. So, you know, I'm sure we are going to see these other characters. We are going to see Gore the God Butcher. We are going to see Thanos return. We are going to see Null come into Earth. And like I say, I think a lot of it is misdirection. I think we're going to be so concerned about like the King in Black and Null coming and everything else. Everyone's forgotten that Thanos is going to be revived and that his body's been taken away.
Yeah.
It was so long ago. Like people just aren't realizing.
Galaxy was that when that was all explored.
Yeah.
And was it Thanos' brother and was it Healer and all that type of stuff? And
they basically started hunting down Gamora because they were saying that she had got Thanos' essence inside her, and if once he died, his essence would come out and he just had to be resurrected with his body, blah, blah, blah. And then it all kind of kicks off from there, but it turns out that it's his brother that's got the Thanos essence, as it were. It's a really good read, to be fair, but it's written by Cates.
One of the things that we have to remember as well is that, you know, not only is the title, like the title of the original book was Thanos Wins, but also we see the Fallen One. And we've also seen the Fallen One in Thor. So we know that timeline is consistent. You know, we haven't just seen the Silver Surfer turn up. We have seen the Fallen One. Like it's the little pieces that we get. It is all connected. He's playing a long game and he's doing it in a very clever way.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's quite it's intriguing, and it's like it's setting up to something massive that we could be all very disappointed about, I think, but at the same time I think people's minds will be quite blown if we do start, you know, like you say. I think like that's where I say, going back to the breadcrumbs, we've got so much everywhere, little bits, and like you say, everybody's focusing on that whole King in Black angle and the Null and what's been happening in Venom and stuff, and it's there's a whole different side, I think, that people are kind of just missing. I found the overall issue with issue 7 like quite it was really surprising. It wasn't what I expected at all as well. I found it quite certainly how it started and things like that. It was really kind of like unexpected, and I still think that there's got to be I've heard a lot of people talking about from the previous issue with the whole like Black Winter thing, and the fact that when the snowflake landed on Thor's hand and his eyes went black and saw the vision and all that like I say, there's like an element of, I don't know, there's something there, isn't there? Like some kind of infection, or I don't know, contamination. I don't know what it is. I think there's more to it.
Yeah, I mean, like even with this whole thing, like we've seen like Ben called it last week when he was talking about the Sentry.
Absolutely.
I do think that, you know, I was along the lines of, it must be Thor. You know, after the story with him and Galactus and everything, he must be the light to combat the darkness that is Null. Yeah. But then obviously now we've got this whole Sentry thing coming up. But again, I don't know, is that a red herring? I don't know if they're putting these things out there. Like, we know that as powerful as Thor is, even 3 Thors couldn't take on Gore the God Butcher. But then at the same time, if you treat Gore the same way as Wraith, Null could literally just turn up and rip the symbiote away from him and be like, there you go, off you go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just how powerful are these people? They haven't been tested. Yeah. My belief is that like Silver Surfer Black showed the Silver Surfer using an energy beam to blast Null away, right? That's how he was able to escape. So surely whichever character it is, it has to be that. It has to be this light. It has to be someone who can generate that amount of power, you know? And there's not many characters out there that hold that much cosmic power. So the fact that Thor took that from Galactus, he's the primary suspect at the moment.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, to be fair.
Could be a red herring.
Yeah, as I say, my mind's a bit blown with it, to be honest, because there's so many theories and everybody's like talking about everything, and it's like, yeah, who knows? I mean, it'll be cool just to see again. I'm kind of just excited to see how it all starts coming together. I mean, like I probably up until prior to probably, I don't know, maybe 18 months ago or whatever, like I'd gone through a period of time where I hadn't really read a great deal. And so you sort of like, you since like probably, I don't know, like sort of around the 2013 up until a couple of years ago, I've got like a big gap. And I'm frantically going back, trying to like, relying on speaking to Tom and like catching up on stuff. But the more I get into it and I'm hearing like about this, and I'll go and do a bit of research, and then I'm like, oh my god, this really does make a lot of sense. But it's all like you say, I just think it's all everything's all there, but will it all come to fruition?
I believe in him. I think he knows what he's doing. I think as long as Marvel continue giving him free reign and allow him to jump around to these different titles where he wants to do the retcons and make the changes, I think it could be something amazing. Doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to go all in with like the tie-ins and everything for King in Black. Like, I think
I just really hope it's not going to be another Al Ewing and Dan Slott to Empire. Empire was awful.
But going back to this actual issue, this issue that we had,
yes,
without giving too many spoilers away, are we to believe that maybe the magic of the hammer has been altered somehow? Because worthy and he who be worthy are very choice words, and we've already seen Loki pick up this hammer, this very same hammer in, I think it was issue 1, and even Loki could pick it up. Now we know Loki is not worthy, so and I'm not going to go into too many spoilers, but somebody else picks up this hammer and they have a shady background too. They're not worthy. They might be trying to be better, but they're not. What is making people worthy at the moment? Has the magic behind this changed?
I'm wondering whether it's going to be similar to, I don't know if you've read Green Lantern, but there's they introduced a character called Simon Baz, who wasn't a very good character, like a nice person. He comes from a rough background, but he's like good intentions, but he's not your stereotypical Green Lantern character. I feel like the Hammer is having that kind of situation where like it's changed its view of, if you're worthy and pure of heart, is not what I'm looking for anymore. I'm looking for someone who's worthy enough, who's going to stand up for what they believe in, kind of thing. I don't know whether that's just changed, but I agree.
It's almost a little bit like in the Absolute Carnage run, where the symbiote realized that Eddie wasn't strong enough and wanted to go for someone that was, and so bonded with Hulk, bonded with Banner. That might be the same way with the Hammer if it then chooses to go with Thanos, which we've seen in the image of the future. But again, like I do think, like, I'm surprised that not many other people have thought about Thanos since his disappearance in all those issues ago. Because I do think that he's still about. He's still going to make a return.
The other thing I thought about with the whole hammer thing is because Odin's not about anymore, and Odin is the one who put the enchantment on the hammer. So is there no enchantment now? Can anybody pick it up? Can you be as evil as you like? Can you just pick it up and swing it around like it's? I guess like you just don't care.
Depends on, like, that could go for any magic, couldn't it? Once the caster of a spell is gone, does that mean that all magic they've performed is undone? Or that's a
whole other episode.
That's a rule for a universe. Because like how do you define that? No, because even in like the MCU, so that would mean that you use the Infinity Stones to wipe out half the universe, but then you destroy the stone. So would that then bring everyone back because it's undone the magic? So it's.
The thing is, as well, I think it's this whole idea of like separate, almost like the separate versions of Thor kind of thing, because on, I think it's issue 9, the cover for issue 9, that we go back to, it was the original, there's like was it Donald Blake or something like Dr. Blake, who's on the cover of issue 9, and it's obviously that's going back all the way to, like, you know, Thor's first appearance kind of thing. So I'm almost wondering, is the hammer trying to find its next? Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, because of what's happened to Thor, is the hammer almost trying to find a new home or something?
This is the thing, right? Like, the rules of the hammer are very precise. It is, you know, he who be worthy grants the power of Thor, right? Yeah. So Thor still has all that power regardless, and then somebody else just gains that same power. Well, now you've got Thor embedded with all this cosmic energy. Does that mean if you hold the hammer, you get all of that as well?
Yeah, well, I suppose. I mean, you'd expect that to happen, but then I suppose he's got Odin's power as well, hasn't he? So can he manipulate?
Everything? The stronger anyone would be when they then hold the hammer. So you could have a weak and puny Thor from years ago compared to one nowadays. And if you're holding that hammer, you gain the abilities of Thor as he is at this moment.
It's like double edged, isn't it? Because you've got, like you say, like Thor's this all powerful, you know, godlike being, like, in his own right, but then you've got the whole thing of, like, you know, being able to hold the hammer to then have that power imbued in you, but also now the fact that other people are able to pick up the hammer. I don't know. I'm like,
he is God of Thunder, not God of Hammers.
Yeah. So I totally agree. I mean, and this is what I'm, you know, again, it just goes back to what we're all kind of saying, is that, like, it really is, like you say, is there a misdirection? Is there so much going on, all these little things, and we're actually going to just go? But again, there's probably a multitude of stories that need to be told, but they're probably already lying, you know, obviously they're in you know, behind the curtain waiting to pop out.
I'm just really interested to see where Cates goes next. Like, whichever title they move him onto, you know it's for another reason. You know it's for a retcon somewhere in that story. You'll find out which is the newest key book that has now changed and gone up in value because of that reason. You'll find out, like, it's just going to expand so much. And I don't even know how long he's going to be on Thor 4. You know, how long is he there? I mean, already we've changed artist with this very issue, I believe. So
yes, it is. Yeah,
Cates is still writing, but we got a different artist. Like, how long is that relationship going to continue?
Yeah,
it is an interesting one. The only thing sorry, Rich, go on.
No, I don't know. I'm out now. I'm kind of like really thinking. Well, I'm like, I want to go and I need to go and research something.
So my only other thing I was thinking about with the hammer is, has he sent, because he's obviously had the hammer he's felt since the start of the book, not after he got Galactus' power, when he first got the Odin's power. He's been like, the hammer's really heavy, it doesn't feel right. Has he suddenly thought, do you know what, the hammer needs to kind of do its origins? Like, he has to go back and do everything he's already done just to remember where he got to, how he got to where he is now. Does that make sense? Have I said that the right way around?
This is why I was talking about, has the properties of the hammer changed? Because Thor knows there's something not right, and we, the audience, know from Loki picking it up that there's something not right. So yeah, like, I mean, Thor literally says in this issue, I'm testing something, because Beta Ray Bill says, where is Mjolnir? Like, where is the hammer? And he says, I'm testing something. And so, you know, he obviously knows that there's something not right about the whole situation, but it also goes to show that he puts a lot of trust in that he doesn't need the hammer anymore.
Yeah.
Because to be able to send a weapon that powerful away for a test is crazy. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, because if this new person does now indeed have the same strength as Thor currently, he might have to fight to get his hammer back.
I think the whole, I remember like the whole thing with the hammer becoming heavy, as I say, goes back to issue 1 as well. So it's not even like you can imply that it's to do with, you know, his interactions with Galactus and, you know, his involvement in everything that Galactus had been doing, you know, the smashing of Stormbreaker and that kind of, you know, almost, I don't know, like arrogance that almost seemed to come through him in the earlier issues. It was already there in issue 1 before we even had that big reveal of Galactus in issue 1. It was like it was being spoken about. So what has happened and what's going on there? As I say, it's a massively big question, isn't it?
Tom's touching on what I said, or what I thought might be the case.
Yeah. To me, it seems strange for a spell to be undone just because the person is gone who cast it. Like, you would think the mystical properties of the universe would still exist, because all you've done is you're manipulating matter from one way to another in order to get the result that you wanted. So
if that was the case,
it doesn't change that you've stirred it. Like, it's not going to revert backwards. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, if that was the case, surely they would have offed Scarlet Witch a while ago to bring all the mutants back.
Yeah, absolutely.
No.
But yeah, I think we're getting these little hints and stuff. Like, we know already from previous titles, and again, it's not. Maybe I am, I'm grasping a little bit with the whole, they've mentioned about zombies, in the background with Thanos. Whether that's really Marvel Zombies or not, I just find it so coincidental that we have Marvel Zombies back. And then in turn, that very first volume of Marvel Zombies did show us that a symbiote cannot survive on a zombie. So to me, that I think that it's a really big stretch, but my mind made the connection. So I have to assume that someone else has made that connection, whether it be Donny Cates or someone else.
That could be quite interesting. I actually had forgotten that bit. But that could definitely be a way to bring the whole null thing down, as it were, to a certain extent. If Thanos rocks up with a whole zombie army.
I always thought that was going to be a similar thing. Again, sorry to sidetrack. With Game of Thrones, like they spoke about grayscale for ages, and I was like, I wonder if you've got grayscale, and then they know how to heal it, which was the whole point of this like story arc. If you've already got an inflictment, maybe then you can't rise again as one of the undead, one of the weights. So maybe they would purposely infect themselves to go to war, which just means that the numbers stay fair, the numbers stay low. Right? You can still get killed and everything else, but they wouldn't be able to resurrect you to then kill the rest of your friends. But they didn't even touch upon any of that. They didn't. I feel like that entire story arc was for nothing. So at least do it with Marvel Zombies in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, it's a good point, actually. Yeah, I know what you're saying. It's my brain is a buzzing now, because it's and I think it's really refreshing to hear a different point of view. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of, because again, everybody's got different experiences of what they've been able to read over the years and what's interested them and everything.
Definitely, and I am an overthinker, so I think about this stuff way more than I should. It's not healthy.
I think we all do to a certain extent, mate. I'm a huge Transformers fan, and I do it with Transformers. I make up my own sort of worlds and all sorts. And then people are like, where did you get that from? Like, well, if you read such and such issue and you go back to when that first person spoke to that person, it's like, that's where I got it from. And they're like, I didn't get that connection. Where have you got that connection from?
Yeah. No, I overthink everything, even to the point where I can't watch many TV shows or movies anymore, because I've had experience being on film sets and knowing how it works. I go, oh yeah, they're obviously going to do that now. And my wife's like, how do you know that? And I'm like, because they show you what they want you to see.
Yeah.
So I do. It ruins it for me, really. I should stop.
Yeah. but do you find it fun doing it, though?
I can't help doing it. Like now it's second nature. But what I've had to learn is not to voice it to people, because then they say that I've ruined it for them.
Yeah.
So I just sit there. Like I remember we were watching the Lego movie when that first came out, and I turned to my wife and my best friend, and I went, I already know how this is going to end. And I wrote it all down on a piece of paper and folded it up, put it on the other side of the room. And I sat there in silence the whole time. And it did. Like, it all panned out. I was correct.
That's amazing.
A similar thing with my wife, because she's like, English literature, obviously teacher and everything. And she obviously went to uni and got a literature degree as well. And it's kind of like, so the whole thing around like plot theory and all that kind of stuff, literally like, so so many stuff, and Tom probably knows this as well because obviously lived with Holly. Like literally, she'll just be sat there, and then she'll just turn around and just go, this is going to happen. That person's going to do this. That person's going to do this, and I'm like,
it's the Chekhov's gun theory, isn't it? It's like they show you something in Act 1 that's going to play a big part in Act 2 or 3. Like, you know, based on what you see, it's like watching those old crime dramas where, you know, the special appearance guest is obviously the murderer. Like the special guest for the episode is the one that's been brought in to be the criminal.
Yeah,
I totally agree, and I think it's really good, really a really good thing. But again, it's got everybody talking, hasn't it? And we're all not quite sure. So he's doing a job, old Mr. Cates.
But like I say, I really did love this book. I really did enjoy it. I don't want people to think that I was just like, oh, it's all been done before, just ignore it. It was really good, and it's really well put together. It just is, you know, they know the recipe that works, and they're like, okay, let's take a bit of that, let's take a bit of this, and then they've created something. And so it's not a bad thing.
No, not at all.
I thought was worth pointing out.
No, I think you're right. I think it's good. Really appreciate that, definitely. Right then, shall we start wrapping this up?
Yeah, absolutely. We've kind of wibbled on a little bit, but never mind.
I'm sorry, that's my fault.
No, it's fine, mate. It's good to have the discussion.
Yeah, it's really good. But yeah, so again, thanks obviously to Luke, obviously for popping along tonight and everything. I'm obviously going to run off and start reading, getting me Marvel Unlimited out and reading all this, the Donny Cates previous Guardian stuff, Thanos stuff, and everything else, because I think we're on to something here, and I feel like I need to know what the hell's going on. But yeah, thanks ever so much, and obviously we will be back on Tuesday. I'll be on my own again to do the keys, and then we've got Comic Dino obviously filling in for Tom next Thursday again, same time, 6 o'clock, and there's probably going to be a couple of videos that will be dropping out.
I have a question about that. So if he's taking Tom's space, does that mean you're still having a guest on?
We haven't actually got a guest lined up, so
just Dino by the looks of it. I'm getting sacked and the guest getting sacked.
Just to give him some extra work.
Yeah.
So Dino's kind of a special guest anyway, but I just found it so weird not having anybody here on Tuesday, like to bounce off. Do you know what I mean? I think me and Tom were so used to how we set the channel up, and it was just I was there, and I was like, the amount of times I said I would if I had to give a pound.
We'll have to do drinks, shots.
Oh no, shots would be a bad idea. But yeah, so it's just nice to have somebody there, really. Like, I need everybody needs to handle it a little bit. Yeah. So, but yeah, we get to talk about different things, and again, like, Dino will be there'll be other opportunities because I'm away over October half term and stuff. So we'll Tom will be able to get somebody on as well. But I think we've got you returning in a couple of weeks, haven't we, Luke, as well?
Yeah, I will be back.
He'll be back
around the spooky time of Halloween. Like,
do you want to tell people what you've got coming up on your channel this week, Luke, or the weekend?
I wish I could. I've actually used up my entire backlog of videos. Like, I normally record a load of stuff and then just like release them on the weekly and have a nice little break in between. I've actually used up everything. So I've got plenty of ideas in the works. I just don't know what I'm going to record for that release on Tuesday. But rest assured, there will be something going out.
Awesome. Nice. Awesome. Well, thanks ever so much for joining us. It's been amazing to have you. And I'm glad that you've got our brains ticking for the whole Thor thing. I mean, that's quality. And Rich is going to go and do a load of research now and be reading all the Thor books that have ever been written.
Yeah, and if you come up with something else that I haven't touched upon, or if you think that something I said is not true, then yeah, hit me up on Instagram and let me know, because it's a fun discussion to have.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't mind being proven wrong. Like, I like the discussion.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's why one of the things when we set this up, I think me and Tom were both, we've both got our interests, but we want to understand more, and by doing this, and this is brilliant that we're actually able to have this discussion with the community now, and I find it fascinating. I do, because it really does help me know what back issues I need to be reading and stuff like that. So yeah, I can't knock it at all. So yeah, thanks so much, definitely.
Yeah,
so yeah, that brings us to the end of the review show. So again, thank you, Luke, for joining us. It's been amazing, and we'll have you back in a couple of weeks if that's cool.
Indeed.
Yeah, awesome. Looking forward to it.
Excellent. Anybody that's not following us on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, follow up the links below, because we are quite active on those things. So yeah, over to Rich.
Yeah, and obviously make sure that you are subscribed. Let's smash that like button as well. Let's get that like counter going up as well. But apart from that, I've really enjoyed that. As I say, really excited to go and do some further research. But thanks ever so much to Luke, and thanks ever so much for everybody who's dropped in the chat. It's been really lively. It's been really nice to see. But yeah, I'll see you on Tuesday. So take care till then.
Yeah, and I'm going to say I shall see you all in in 2 weeks' time when I'm back off holiday. Don't give Rich too much stick, and make sure you all come back and see him. And in the words of my friend Big Boy Bloater, stay safe, stay sexy, and see ya!